Dr. Elena Reeves squinted, looking at the grainy satellite images on her computer screen. Something was off about the vast expanse of the Mojave Desert. She zoomed in on the image, frowning her eyebrows. "Mark, take a look at this," she addressed her colleague. Dr. Mark Chen leaned over her shoulder, his eyes widening as he comprehended what he saw. "That's impossible." The image showed a perfect circle about 2 miles in diameter, where the desert sand seemed darker than the surrounding area. That wasn't in yesterday's pictures. "We should investigate that," Elena said, already reaching for her phone. 2 days later, a small group of scientists, including Elena and Mark, arrived at the site. As they approached the perimeter of the circle, an eerie silence enveloped them. No birds, no insects, not even a whisper of wind. Elena knelt down to examine the sand. It looked normal, but when she touched it, a chill ran down her spine. It didn't seem right, colder than it should be, with a strange, almost oily texture. "Everyone put on your protective gear," she ordered, her voice strained with concern. As they moved deeper into the circle, their equipment began to malfunction. Compasses spun frantically, and GPS units showed conflicting coordinates. The air became thick, and breathing became difficult even through the mass. Mark suddenly stumbled, grabbing his head. "Can you hear that?" he gasped. Elena strained her hearing, but heard nothing. "Hear what?" "Voices," Mark whispered, his eyes widening with fear. "Whispers, screams." Before Elena could answer, the ground beneath them began to shift. The dark sand vibrated like water, and the air was filled with a low, vibrating hum. The crew members screamed in panic as they began to sink. "Get out!" yelled Elena, fighting the pull of the sand. She reached for Mark, but he was already waist-deep in water, his face contorted with horror. "They're coming," he wailed. And then he disappeared, swallowed up by the churning sand. Elena barely had time to run to the edge of the circle and collapsed onto the plain desert floor. She looked back in horror. The last of her team had disappeared into the dark expanse. The sand fell silent, and there was silence. Shivering and panting, Elena fumbled for her satellite phone. She had to warn someone. This was just the beginning. The incident was quickly classified. Official reports said it was a tragic accident caused by an unexpected sinkhole. Families mourned what had happened, the media shied away, and the scene was cordoned off as a restricted area. But Elena knew the truth. She spent sleepless nights studying the data, contacting scientists, and piecing together a terrifying theory. The Mojave anomaly, as she called it, was spreading. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the circle grew larger, and it wasn't the only one. Similar phenomena were appearing in remote areas all over the world, in the Gobi Desert, in the Australian outback, in the Sahara. Elena's warnings went unheeded, until the dreams began. People around the world reported nightmares of dark sand and whispering voices. Some woke up with unexplained bruises and scratches. Others didn't wake up at all and were found dead in their beds, their bodies desiccated as if every drop of moisture had been squeezed out of them. As panic spread, governments could no longer ignore the threat. Elena found herself at the center of a worldwide effort to study and locate the anomalies. But every attempt to study them ended in disaster. Probes disappeared, drones crashed, and brave volunteers never returned. The anomalies continued to grow, swallowing cities and towns. Evacuations were hampered by sleeping sickness, which seemed to intensify the closer one came to the dark sand. Those who survived reported seeing otherworldly landscapes and terrifying entities in the anomalies. Many theories emerged. Some claimed it was an alien invasion, others a failed government experiment. Religious groups declared it an apocalypse. Elena suspected something far worse, a fundamental shift in the fabric of reality, as if our world was being absorbed into another dimension. 5 years after the first anomaly appeared, Half of the world's deserts had been transformed. The global economy collapsed as trade routes were cut off and resources became scarce. Coastal cities were flooded with refugees fleeing the encroaching darkness. Elena stood at the edge of the Mojave Desert, which was now a vast expanse of rippling and whispering sand. The border of the anomaly was a few miles from Las Vegas, whose neon lights glittered defiantly against the backdrop of impending doom. She could feel it calling to her, promising answers to everything. The voices that had haunted her dreams for years were louder now, almost intelligible. Part of her soul wanted to step into the dark sand to finally understand. A hand on her shoulder brought her back to reality. It was Dr. Yuki Tanaka, her fellow researcher, and one of the few people who had believed her from the start. "Elena, we need to leave," Yuki said urgently. "They're evacuating Vegas. The growth of the anomaly is accelerating." Elena nodded, not taking her eyes off the hypnotic movement of the sand. As they hurried to their car, a low rumble shook the ground. The famous Vegas Strip showed in the distance, its towers beginning to crumble, sinking into the encroaching dark sand. As they pulled away, Elena's satellite phone buzzed. It was a message from their global monitoring network. Elena's heart clenched as she read it. "It's happening everywhere," she whispered. "All the anomalies are expanding rapidly. At this rate," she couldn't finish the sentence, nor did she need to. They both knew what it meant. Humanity was running out of places to hide. The car crested a hill, and they saw a huge caravan of refugees stretching as far as the horizon. Millions of people with nowhere to run. In the rearview mirror, dark sand engulfed the landscape. Elena closed her eyes. The voices were louder than ever. They spoke of inevitability, of a great connection, of a world remade of sand and whispers. As night fell, the stars seemed dimmer and dimmer, as if they too were being swallowed up by the impending darkness. Humanity huddled together, waiting for a dawn that might never come, while the whispering sands drew ever closer. Elena woke up with a start, sand in her mouth. The refugee camp was quiet, too quiet. She crawled out of the tent and froze in horror. The camp was empty, abandoned tents fluttering in the unnatural wind. A wall of dark sand loomed in the distance, unthinkably close. The whispering grew into a deafening roar. Elena screamed as the sand engulfed her, dragging her into a realm of endless darkness and alien geometric shapes. The time of humanity was over. The age of the whispering sands had begun.